Darami, I say, whenever I leave the house, and on whatever thing my eyes fall on, صبر. Allah Ta'ala says, Wallahu yuhibbu sabirin. Allah Ta'ala is
School governing body of South Coast Madrasa.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Malik Arafat. Today I'm speaking to Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, the founder of Gift of the Givers, South Africa's world-renowned humanitarian aid organization, about a report recently released by a New York-based organization called Physicians for Human Rights, about over 600 doctors that are killed in or have been killed in Syria. Dr. Imtiaz, that's a serious amount. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, Malik. Yes, it's doctors and medical personnel in general. To be honest with you, I find that figure may be less, although I haven't done the research. They're a credible organization. They've been monitoring. They've been everywhere inside Syria. But to me, given the stats on the ground and given the experience on the ground, it may mean some people have been lost out of their group in other parts of Syria, because it's not possible to be in every part of Syria at the same time, given the horrors of the aerial attack, the bombing, the missiles, so many attacks every day. So it's possible the figure could be more than that.
How are they getting killed?
Well, they deliberately targeted. And although, as I said, I don't have the stats, I haven't done the count myself, but I can sort of, in the principle, say about why that could be very true. Because the guy that runs my hospital, he came from Aleppo. And he was deliberately targeted by the Syrian government for one purpose only: it's treating innocent civilians. If you treat innocent civilians, you and the civilians are regarded as an enemy to the state. This is your own country. You are sick, you're in hospital, you're a medical personnel. And he was arrested, taken to jail. And the 3 days they tried everything possible to try to find out, is he linked to some group? Why is he treating innocent civilians? He said, but I've been a doctor all my life. This is what I do. And no, you belong to some movement, you're an enemy of the state. Eventually, after 3 days, he got out. And soon after that, as soon as they released him, they were sending somebody else back to fetch him and take him away to kidnap him. Information was given to him, and they told him, get out of Aleppo right now. And he was in Aleppo, and he moved to mountainous areas, another place called Bashuria. And at one point, he was the only doctor in that region doing everything. And finally, he moved to Darkush, which is his home city, and that's where I met him for the first time in October 2012. And I can give you many more incidents of doctors and hospitals being attacked.
I mean, if this report says 600 medical personnel in 4 years have been killed, the next question then would be, how many people have died in Syria?
They're talking about 220,000 people. I think the figures, again, far more than that, much more than 220,000 people. There's 400,000 people in incarceration in jails alone. You look at almost 14 million people displaced, 6 million plus outside and 7 million plus inside Syria, in different parts of Syria. The country has fallen apart. 5,000 schools have been destroyed. 5,000 mosques and churches have been destroyed. 7,000 schools have been destroyed. So this is like self-destruction. Everything is a target. And it's all civilian issues. Mosque, church, school, hospitals, clinics. We have become the biggest medical facility in the whole of North Syria. Why? Simply because everything else is destroyed. Not because we put the biggest building. It's because that our building is the only building standing. And why, again, I can verify that report, not the figures exactly, but the principle of the report. Because many doctors, when I went in 2000, October 12, I met him for the first time, 2012 October. In December, we went because we found a building which we were going to convert into a emergency hospital. And then we took a medical team and we went in April of 2013. At that point, Dr. Ahmed only had 2 or 3 trained medical personnel with him. The others were all agricultural students. They're not medical people, but they worked in theater, they worked in the wards, they worked as nurses, because there was just nobody. Now that tells you something. Either the doctors or the medical personnel have died, or they can't get to the area, or they left the country. There's no other explanation. Where's everybody? And seeing that there is so few medical personnel, and then we left. And then we said, look, we need to recruit in a war zone more personnel. And from that period till now, we now have almost 40 medical personnel. Now, these are not agricultural students. These are proper medical personnel. And they said, look, I came from Aleppo, I came from Qusair, I came from Latakia, I came from Homs, I came from here, I came from there. And everywhere the same story. We were so many medical personnel. The aircraft came, direct strike on the hospital. So many nurses died, so many doctors died, so many patients died. This hospital closed, that hospital closed, there's nothing there, we had to leave. We went to another area, came, struck again, and we moved to another area. So in the process, they were moving, and eventually they came to our hospital. And this is not one doctor or no one medical personnel. These are different doctors, different medical personnel from different areas who give you exactly the same story.
Well, Syria is a country where the war really is, the government is involved in the war. You've got ISIS, you've got rebel forces, and other forces that we are not aware of. Why is it that they have been targeted by the government alone?
Well, remember, they stood up it wasn't a revolution. It was a protest on March 15, 2011. And they said they want a better system of life, a better government. They didn't ask for regime change. It was a continuation of the Arab Spring. The government misperceived that. Women and children were taken away and tortured. 9-year-old children and 11-year-old children who dared write on the school board that we want change in a place called Dara. They were taken away, they were tortured at the age of 9 and 11. People were attacked in the mosque by the regime. And as a result of that, the resistance then became angry. And people started responding and turning against the government for what it done. But remember, these are not military people. I've met a lot of the Syrian people. We must not mix up the groups that are from outside from the ordinary civilians. Yes, there are some resistance groups inside the country. They're not well armed. They don't know how to fight. They got no military training. They're not a resistance force. And I've encountered them in hospital, and when I look at them, I said, oh my God, if you guys are going to fight, maybe in another 100 years you'll achieve nothing. Because they're not military people, compared to what I've seen in other countries where I've been to war zones. And most of them are passive people, pastoralists. They own farms, agricultural students, as I told you, farmers. And these are the people now resisting, but with no military acumen. And all they want is a better system of life. And for this, they are being massacred. And every other group that's coming to the country, they don't die. The people get attacked. Soft target, they get attacked because now you are perceived as having all these groups on your side. The people in Syria don't agree with these outside groups. I mean, let's make that very clear. They said, all these groups must leave the country. Leave us to have our own self-determination and give us the right to choose the government that we want. We are not saying regime change again. We are saying give us the opportunity to choose our own government, and all foreign intervention, meaning governments with outside governments with interests inside Syria must leave, and all these groups coming from outside must leave.
We don't see in general media these figures of doctors in particular dying in those numbers.
Because there's no media inside Syria. Where have you seen a war zone that, I've been to so many areas. The first thing that struck me, the day I put my foot into Syria in October 2012, was the absence of NGOs, absence of media, absence of UN, absence of international agencies. I've been to Bosnia, I've been to Iraq, I've been to other war zones, Somalia. You see the presence. Like in Bosnia, the moment you walk into the country, the satellite dishes, the TV cameras, TV, radio, you see all the cars everywhere. Nothing like this is visible inside Syria. Nothing. No NGOs. You go to the town, you can't find a single NGO in a country that's totally devastated. 2012 October is 1.5 years after the war had started. It's not like the beginning. It's so long. You should have seen everybody established. You should have seen 10 cities everywhere. Nothing. So nobody has information. It is these groups like the Physicians for Human Rights and the Syrian Observatory and other groups like that who collect information. But the biggest amount of information comes from social media. People from inside send a message to somebody on the outside. Like, I get pictures all the time, and we can verify them because those pictures, people are in my hospital. 2 days ago, they hit Idlib, 33 people killed, or 33 people injured, 5 killed. A few days ago, they hit another area, the Atma camp on the Turkish border, 5 people died. The camp just on the outside of the camp. I've been to that camp. I know it. And the flames are there. Before Eid in 2013, they put a car bomb 1 kilometer from the hospital. 60 or 70 people died, close to 200 injured. They couldn't get to the hospital because the fire was so intense. And where did they strike? In an open public market. So many times in Jummah time, when people are praying, the bombs fall exactly at Jummah time. Nobody's documenting that. The pictures you have is what the people are giving you and what your own teams get from inside Syria. But we've documented every single patient that has come to the hospital. And I can safely state it's getting substantially worse now than what it was in 2011. Because we are now seeing 10,000 patients a month. And that figure is climbing. We had to expand the hospital. It was a single building. The ground floor is expanded. We've got a second floor, a third floor, and a building on the other side of the road now.
Yeah. Hold your thoughts on that one. When we come back after the break, we'll tackle Mr. Dr. Suleiman on more issues about Syria. Assalamu alaikum.
صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما صلوا عليه.
Welcome back. Assalamu alaikum. We are with Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, the founder of Gift of the Givers. Dr. Suleiman, the picture you've been drawing or showing us now really is that, in fact, it's actually much worse in Syria than it was in Gaza last year.
Gaza is nothing. I know people are very sensitive about Gaza. I've been supporting Gaza for a long time. Forget what I'm saying. Listen to what the Palestinians are saying. The Palestinians are saying Syria is far worse than us. In Yarmouk, how many Palestinians have died? Kids have died because of hunger. They've been encircled and closed by Assad's forces. 14,000 Palestinians have been killed by Assad's people inside Syria itself. We've helped Palestinians in camps in Mersin, in Turkey. And yet the first assistance that we got when we started opening the hospital, the first guy who came to us was a Palestinian. He said, I'm giving you $100,000 because the Syrian people need it more than my people in Gaza. And if you go to Gaza, even whilst I was there in Gaza in the war in 2014, the Gaza people told me, you know what, although we're getting bombed, they need it more in Syria than we need it here. They need the assistance. And I'm talking only about, I told you about the hospitals being targeted. 4 days ago, Assad's forces dropped 153 bombs in a civilian area. Many, many casualties, many people died. In Damascus in the south, 2.5 million people are completely trapped. No water, no food, no medical care, no medicines can go in. Many people have died of hunger. And now the very bad cold we've had in December, January, February, people have died of cold from hypothermia. 166 kids in one area alone died from cold. In other areas, people can't survive. There's no food coming in. And there's no crops because everything is destroyed. Syria is an agricultural country, but there's no crops now. So they eat grass, and they were eating cats to survive. This is, in the jail, the women who are there, they're begging, sending messages on the outside. They said, look, we are tired of being raped multiple times. Please come and bomb the prisons. Let us die by the bombing of the hands of our own people. That is more dignified for us than to live like this in jail.
This is much more worse than crimes against humanity.
This is a major crime against humanity. You know, in Bosnia, it was exposed. There were safe havens. People went in. Yet there seems to be complicity between the world powers and the Muslim countries. Don't blame only one nation. Blame everyone. Because forget international politics. We all say we're Muslim. Forget there's any other nation living on earth. As Muslims, what does the Quran tell us to do? To go and help the oppressed people. To bring about mercy and justice. To reduce fighting. To reduce killing. To help bring an end to fighting. And that if one group is wrong, that all the groups get together against the wrong group. That is Islamic teaching. This is not being done in Syria. Muslim countries are helping people who are on the wrong side and making sure they're assisting people harming innocent civilians. This is not acceptable. We always have to draw the comparison. If the Prophet of Islam was here, would he allow a situation like this? The answer is definitely no. He would not allow a situation like this. Because women and children who have nothing to do with this, who gave legitimate protest, which is allowed, what in Islamic law and international law, are now paying the price, for other groups being in the country. That's why I say other countries must get out of Syria, the other fighters must get out of Syria, and let the Syrian people have self-determination.
But what help are the Syrian people getting in this situation, really?
It's minimal compared to what is already required. And the international bodies have been very good saying this is a sectarian war, there's different groups. So they've sort of told the world, you know what, don't get involved inside here. This is something that's very mixed up. You won't understand it. So conveniently, in South Africa and in Africa and other parts of the world, people say, no, we won't touch this. It's a sectarian issue, you know. And conveniently, they've poisoned your mind. The moment Gaza comes, hey, let's run to Gaza. Gaza is nothing. I'm emphasizing it again. Gaza is nothing compared to what Syria is. In Gaza, in 5 weeks, 2,100 people died. Yes, the loss of life is horrendous. Buildings were destroyed. In Syria, in 1 day, 700 people died. That's the difference, you know. And we need to change the mindset. It doesn't matter whether it's sectarian, whether it's agenda. You as a Muslim have to respond to women and children. That is Islamic teaching. You are asked, go to the side of the oppressed, you know, and help them with medical care, with food. We are not fighters. We're not talking about a military solution. We're talking about a humanitarian solution. In a war like this, there are no winners. Everybody has lost. Everybody has lost. It is time they realize this is making no progress, and if we don't stop it, it'll take another 20 years. And in the end, there will be no Syria. There'll be no buildings, no land, no hospitals, no clinics, no mosques, and a broken people. Can you imagine the psychological and emotional fallback of the effect of what's going to happen in so many years? 2.5 million children not in school. They're going to become criminals. A broken society. We are not going to be winners. We're all going to lose.
This is horrible. I mean, this is how I can't just think of what is the best way of helping these people. I mean, I want to go back to the word help. You know, how do we help these people out of that?
Well, you need help at different levels. You need an international level. The world body must say, look, we've had it. Enough of this. We're sending troops inside Syria. We're creating safe havens. We are going to protect the civilians. They did it in Bosnia. They did it in Kosovo. They wanted to do it they sent NATO into Libya. They did it in other countries. Why can you not do it in Syria? Go in and say, we're creating safe havens. We're taking in tents. We're opening the area. We're taking food in. We're taking medical care. These are restricted zones, no-fly zone. No military can come here. It's not impossible. They can do it whenever they want to do it. Nobody wants to do it. Whilst they're not doing anything, we as individuals and organizations need to support medical care, food, tents, you know, psychologists. But unfortunately, you can't send people there for too long to stay in the country. It's just too dangerous. Those bombs just fall every single place. Being a medical person, there's no respect, no dignity. They will bomb you. They will target you. If you come in as a medical personnel to try to help, anybody trying to save lives is a potential enemy to the state.
But how, in the middle of all of this, I mean, you've been to different war areas. What are the dangers that you and your staff and your volunteers experience?
Well, they tried to bomb us as we walked in. The bombs fell into Darkush. They've tried to bomb the hospital several times. Bombs fell below the hospital, behind the hospital, on the sides of the hospital. 4 missiles struck the mountain above the hospital. But by Allah's grace, this hospital is in such a strategic area that is between 2 mountains. And to bomb it is not easy. The closest they got to it was a car bomb 1 kilometer away. But I've given instructions since the hospital is open that no car is allowed to park anywhere near this hospital. That was in 2012 December, January 2013. No car is allowed to be parked here.
But how do people transport the injured or ill from wherever they are?
Injured is different. The moment they come to the hospital, the military brings them, or people come screeching in. They come on a flag. There's some kind of sound, siren, and a lot of people call in. The hospital number is available to say, I'm coming from Marital Noman. I'm coming from Yaqubia. I'm coming from Qusair. I'm coming from Latakia, from Homs. We got 15 casualties. We're coming with 3 bakis. There's so many people inside there. Some we think are dead. And so often, and exactly, let's say we'll be there in 45 minutes. Maybe if there's some bombs on the way, we'll take 65 minutes kind of thing. And at that point, we'll see the first baki coming. And in most cases, you first take out the bodies, and then you take out the injured people. So there's a communication system.
Now, with the Syrian military, they also have casualties, isn't it?
Yes.
You also take care of them.
My role is very clear. We don't look at, because we are not at war in Syria. We are a humanitarian organization. Islam is very clear. You help those you're fighting and those you're fighting with, although we are not on either side. We are just purely as an outsiders there. So the instruction is clearly, whether it's Shia, whether it's Sunni, whether it's ISIS, whether it's Jabhat al-Nusra, whether it's the Syrian army, whoever comes to that hospital, there's no which group you belong to. You're a patient. What is your name? Where did you come from? Where are you injured? You're a patient and you get treatment in that hospital. The different groups, we went out and invited them to say, you're from this group, you're from this group. In this hospital, there's no groups. anybody injured can come and be seen in this hospital. This is the rule. If anybody in this hospital does anything contrary to it, we shut the hospital down.
But in terms of, probably some of these things are very confidential in terms of the numbers of government officers that you're treating or the type of thing.
Not many have come there. They got their own facilities. Not many military people. When I say military, these are normal people who are fighters. We haven't had many in that area. Because remember, most of the fight is not in our area. We are more in... all the information I'm giving you is because we are in the best part of Syria. Can you imagine what it is like in the worst part of Syria? So there's not much fighting in that area. The troops are maybe 25, 30, 40 kilometers away. So it's too long a distance to bring injured troops. Most of them will die on the way. But from other areas, 18, 20 kilometers away, although some of them do come from further, depending on the degree of injuries, but no military people have come there. You've had a few fighters, yes, who've come to the hospital, but it's not many because the fighting is not there. It's because there's more aerial bombardment. There's no ground war. So these fighters are involved in the ground war several kilometers away. But the people who are getting injured are those that have been affected by aerial bombardment or by missiles or by tanks. So there's no direct man-to-man combat. So that's why we don't have so many soldiers come there.
But are you getting any support from medical personnel from surrounding countries?
Nobody wants to go inside there. Nobody in his right mind will go inside Syria. And at the moment, we're fortunate in a very sad way, because we've got doctors from other hospitals that have been bombed inside Syria. That's the only way we got them. So they say, okay, I was in this hospital, I'm inside Syria now, and you have to compliment them, because they can take their skills and they can leave the country like what others did, and they can get a good salary and have a peaceful life for their family and just leave everybody else behind. These people are risking their lives 24/7 to stay in the country so they can help their own people. So yes, as the hospitals got bombed, our personnel levels start increasing. So Syrians have come from outside, but nobody wants to stay there. These are Syrians who are outside, who are prosperous in America, in Europe. They come there, okay, we'll send you some stuff, we'll help, but nobody wants to come. Now we're going to open it out to any nationality of any country, anywhere in the world, wants to come and serve in the hospital, please come. But I guarantee you, nobody will stay more than 7 or 8 days.
Shukran kathiran for this candid discussion on Syria. Clearly, Syria is a matter of serious concern for us Muslims to consider in terms of assisting and helping, but also in terms of the war on Islam that is taking place in that part of the world. What Dr. Suleiman has just alluded to is the fact that Syria needs our help. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما حتى تنالوا جنة ونعيما. 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 صلوا عليه